And now we are bringing out our candidates for the Ohio State House 66th District. We have first, hopefully incumbent Republican Doug Green, and then Democratic candidate Kenneth McNeely Jr. And then again for the information of the candidates, you have 2 minutes for opening statements, 2 minutes to answer each question, and 2 minutes for closing statements. And we will start with an introduction by Mr. Green.
Thank you. Good evening. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years since we've had this forum with the Clermont County League of Women Voters. I want to thank you all for coming out. My name is Doug Green, and I am currently serving as the 66th House representative for the Ohio legislature. I'm a lifelong member of the community, of the district, living in Mount Orland. My wife Norma and I have been married to each other for more years than I'm allowed to say. Being a strong supporter of those who are willing to go in harm's way to protect our freedoms, I was able to put together a successful Veterans Benefit Fair this year, hosted by the Clermont County YMCA. I'm pro-life. I supported the marriage amendment to the Constitution, one man, one woman. I support the right to bear arms. I'm opposed to the legalization of marijuana. And it's my opinion that the children's education is our responsibility, not the federal government. During my brief tenure in the legislature, I've been privileged to serve on the Ways and Means, Transportation, Public Safety, and Homeland Security, and the Manufacturing and Workforce Development Committees. I was also appointed Enterprise Zone Program Review to the Program Review Council, and last summer I was asked by Speaker Batchelder, can't see that. Thank you. Speaker Batchelder to serve as Vice Chairman of the Tax Reform Study Committee. I was named the 2013 Legislator of the Year by ABATE of Ohio. As of today, my endorsements include the Ohio Republican Party, the Brown County Republican Party, the Ohio Restaurant Association, the Farm Bureau Federation, Ohio Chamber of Commerce, the Ohio Association of CPAs, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the Ohio Chiropractic Association, and the Ohio Right to Life. Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. And Mr. McNeely.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Doug Green mentioned, it's been a wild 2 years since we were last year in 2012. It's been a good year, a good 2 years. I too, I'm a 23-year resident of Clermont and Brown counties. Right now I live in Brown County, and I am a supporter of women's rights, and I'm also a supporter of also the one man, one woman amendment, and also the Second Amendment. I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. I believe that public education is vital for our children. They will be our next leaders in our communities and also our governments. So I support strong public education and strong public and education for our children. And thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you very much. And Mr. McNeely will get our first question first. And this is, the question is, how do you feel about Common Core? Do you feel that this is good for America and Ohio's young people? And what's your position on the effort underway in Columbus now to repeal it?
I do not support the Common Core because I don't believe that it's for the best interest of the students, for the children. Because it takes away the teacher's ability to teach what is needed for the children to know, and not for the tests, because that's what the Common Core does. It teaches for the tests, and I would support the repeal of the Common Core in the state of Ohio.
And Mr. Green, what's your position on Common Core? Do you feel that it's good for American and Ohio's young people?
Can I just say me too? Well, Ken and I are in agreement on the Common Core issue. We both believe that our teachers need to have better control of the classroom. It's not education is not a federal issue; it's a local issue. I think Common Core takes away the creativity opportunities, and students don't all learn the same way. So I am in opposition. As a matter of fact, I had one of the signers of the discharge petition to ask for that initial bill to repeal coming to the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Green. Next question. Sharing volunteer positions, staff and funding cuts only cause more unemployment. What will you do to really help our communities?
Oh, that's for me, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Green.
Well, in the 130th General Assembly, we have been working on these issues with our due diligence. We've passed a number of pieces of legislation to encourage small business development, one being the personal income tax cut, another being the small business tax cut. There's a program that was instituted by Governor Casey, which I'm in strong support of, which is its goal and effort is to identify and reduce red tape to get out of the way so businesses can develop and grow.
Okay, thank you. And then Mr. McNeely. Can I repeat the question, Doug?
Yes, would you repeat, please?
Asset sharing, volunteer positions, staff and funding cuts only cause more unemployment. What will you do to really help our communities?
What I would do is, as a state representative, is I would and I would look for and keep my ears and eyes open for businesses that were wanting to move to the state of Ohio, and I would talk with them and attempt to encourage them to move to the Brown County, Clermont County area to help bring the jobs, to help alleviate the unemployment rate. Because the way that the unemployment is now, it's not accurate because it's not taking into consideration those that have fallen off of the unemployment rolls. So the unemployment is actually double of what has been stated in the paper. So bringing good paying, livable wage jobs to the area would help alleviate the economic situation that's in the county right now and the district.
Okay, thank you. And this next question will go first to Mr. McNeely. What is your position on the $1.2 billion in cuts that has been made to local governments by the state, with decreased funding to townships and cities? What specific changes would you recommend to local fire and EMS to support their needs?
Thanks for the question. What I would do is look at what past years that the local governments and the townships had been receiving, and then what they had been sending back to Columbus, and then what was supposed to be sent back from Columbus to the local governments. And I would take that money that's in that was in a nutshell being that the governor did about moving monies around and not sending back the money that was supposed to have been, that was allocated, was supposed to go back to the counties, county governments, and the local townships. Send that back to those government entities so that they can support the firefighters, police officers, EMTs, so we can have adequate protection in the district.
Thank you. And Mr. Green, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm fine, thank you. First of all, I have been an advocate for protecting the local government fund. I was one of 2 Republican legislators who voted for an amendment to hold harmless the local government fund in the last budget cycle. The issue, however, is more than just the local government fund. The process began when the personal property tax was eliminated. Personal property tax was replaced by the CAT tax. The CAT tax, I believe, was a fairer tax for business. However, the CAT tax revenues went to the state of Ohio, where the personal property tax revenues stayed to local. So that was the first part of the cuts there, and then there was a 50% and 225% increments, reducing the local government 2 years in a row in the 129th General Assembly. Or maybe it was the 128th. I was in county government at the time. But the struggle continues that to try to maintain the revenues to the state, to the townships and villages that was the local government fund. It's my belief that we need to protect the remaining levels of local government funds back to the townships and villages. In addition, there was a creation of collaborative funds that you can apply for grants for. It's all in an effort in that regard, and I don't disagree with this portion of it, to create an opportunity for joint ventures between jurisdictions in learning how to do more with less.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Green. And the next question will go to you first. And this is a follow-up on the Common Core question from the audience. How would you suggest measuring the effectiveness of our education system if there is no common standard?
Well, I think that we have talents and abilities in our local jurisdictions, in our local school districts. Hopefully we have people with talents and abilities to recognize performance levels and to reward those who perform and to hold accountable those who are not performing. One of the challenges with Common Core is that it takes the element of some of the elements of true assessment, in my opinion. You have a child who is not interested in their educational opportunity. They don't pay attention. They disrupt the class. That is an issue that, in all fairness, that an educator has to deal with, which could be a mark against them because of non-performance. Where if we maintain our educational system at the local level, we can have our administrators do administrators' work, our educators do educators' work, and continue to provide as much, the most bang for our buck to the educating of our students.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. McNeely, how would you suggest measuring the effectiveness of our education system if there is no common standard?
I believe that each school district and each principal would have the ability to have that within their own school building or district about the accountability, and also because if you take a look at the public education now, you have a 80-85% graduation rate in the public school system, whereas in the charter schools you have a 7.2% graduation rate. So there's some accountability there, and then which would with the graduation rate would be accountable for the students and for the school system. And I think the teachers are doing a good job under the circumstances that they have now. And with the Common Core, if that was replaced, eliminated, teachers would have a greater role in facilitating the education for our kids, and there would be more attention span and a higher graduation rate.
Thank you, Mr. McNeely. Next question. How can you help, and this will go first to Mr. McNeely. How can you help Ohio families pay for higher education?
That would be to increase I believe, the earned income credit and help the children start at early with a higher education, start a early education fund, and that would be non-taxed on the parents when they would put that into the education fund for their children. And with that, they would have a higher percentage rate for the parents, so that the children will be able to have a bigger nest egg for their college education. But the earned income credit, I believe, could be enlarged to help the parents to put more of a savings aside for their children.
Thank you. Mr. Green.
Thank you. Could you repeat the question?
How can you help Ohio families pay for higher education?
Well, there are a number of options and opportunities available today, not the least of which is children who excel. They are eligible if applications made through grants for scholarships, whether they be through the college that they desire to go to or for other nonprofits and foundations. There are also, in your local schools, there are alumni funds, alumni scholarships, of which I am directly involved in my home school. But there's no question about it. Education is, the cost of education is out of control. I, however, don't know how we can get a handle on the cost of education without looking at the education system itself. We have to find ways to cut costs, find ways to provide the opportunities, and we need to encourage students to do their very best in school and not decide when it's time to graduate that they want to go to college, but to work hard when they're in school, to perform, to be eligible for those grants and those scholarships that are available.
Thank you, Mr. Green. And you will get the next question first. Should Ohio raise the minimum wage? Why or why not? And if so, what should it be?
Well, first of all, I don't think the economy in Ohio is strong enough to consider increasing the minimum wage. There are businesses. The businesses that I think would be most affected by increasing the minimum wage would probably have to look at a reduction of staff to be able to maintain and give pay increases to increase the minimum wage. I'm not saying that it isn't something that we should consider in the future. We shouldn't consider in the future, but I just don't think the time is right at this point.
Thank you. Mr. McNeely, should Ohio raise the minimum wage? Why or why not? And if so, what should it be?
Yes, I believe that it's ready for the minimum wage to be increased at a gradual rate, not all of a sudden $15 an hour, but depending on the business at a graduated rate, because some businesses would not be able to support $15 an hour wage increase. So as it stands now, those would have to be looked at, and they would know how to raise the rate, whether it be $8 or $10, $11, $12 an hour, but graduate it till eventually does get to $15 an hour. Because People cannot live, a husband and wife cannot live on an $8, $9, $10 an hour job, raise a family, pay their bills, pay their food, raise their children, send their children to school, pay for school. They can't do it. So the graduated rate would be the most logical. McDonald's can afford to do it. Wendy's can afford to do it. Some of the others can do it. Walmart can certainly do it. It's one of the biggest employers in the country. So a graduated increase in the minimum wages would be the way that it would be and to help the economy.
Thank you, Mr. McNeely. And we'll get this next question first. Do you believe that we should do what's possible to create smaller county and state government? And if so, what specific ideas do you have for going about doing that?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Do you believe that we should do what's possible to create smaller county and state government? And if so, how would you go about doing it?
No, I believe that the way that it is now with the county government and the townships, I believe that it's efficient now. I don't see any reason to add any more governments in that area. It would be non-essential, so I would not support anything like that.
Cutting government?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Green, do you believe that we should do what's possible to create smaller county and state government? And if so, what specific ideas do you have for doing this?
Well, I think what has been done in the past few years has been an effort to reduce the size and scope of government. As far as elimination of governments, I think that at this point, I would not be able to support that. Having come from local government, going through the cuts as a local government official, there was a time when we had room to cut. And coming from Brown County, where it's a smaller jurisdictions, we had learned to cooperate and collaborate already because that was part of the necessity to survive. But there are ongoing studies to determine what duplication of services we're experiencing. And obviously, if there is a duplication of service, something needs to go. So I think we need to continue to look at our government structure, and if there is something that is duplicative, and I would go on to say not just in local governments, but in state and federal government as well. Duplication is duplication. If it's being done, we don't need two agencies providing the same service. So in that regard, I would look at possibilities of cuts when identified.
Thank you, Mr. Green. And that was our last question. And we now turn to closing statements. Each candidate has 2 minutes, beginning with Mr. McNeely.
Thank you. Again, thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for coming tonight. Appreciate you all coming out, spending the evening with us, getting to know us. I am, as I said before, I'm a 23-year resident of Clermont, Brown County, and I believe that I would be the best representative for the people in the district, in the state, in Columbus, because my heart is for the people, and I would listen to the people and do what would be necessary for all of the people in the state and in the district to have a better life and a more comfortable, easy life. And that's what it's all about, is having a more comfortable, easy life, to enjoy life and have jobs in the area where you can go to your job, be home, not have to drive long distances, an hour, 2-hour drive. As before, I didn't say it before, but I have been endorsed by the Clermont and Brown County Democratic parties, state Democratic Party, the state Ohio Democratic House Caucus I've been endorsed by. I have been a public school teacher. I was a school teacher, substitute teacher for 3 years. in Huntington, West Virginia, Kell County, and Clermont County, the Western Clermont School District. And been 30 years in the private sector business, so I know what the people are going through out in the district and in the state with the unemployment and the high living standards. So I have a heart for the people, and I will listen to the people as a state rep. And thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you. While serving in the Ohio legislature, I've worked hard to represent the concerns of my constituents, firmly but with respect for others. I've made great efforts while in the Ohio legislature to increase efficiencies in state government, reduce bureaucratic restraints, and reduce your personal and business tax liability, all in an effort to promote job growth, with some success. As a matter of fact, I was just informed this morning, Area Development Online placed Ohio on its top 10 states for doing business on its annual list for the first time. So we're doing something right. People want to work. People need to continue to do, we need to continue to do our part to encourage job growth so people can work. I'm humbled by the trust and the confidence the voters placed in me 2 years ago. You know, more than that, I'm grateful for the believers who have been faithful to pray, not only for me, but all those in authority over us. It has truly been my honor to be part of the efforts of the 130th General Assembly, and I respectfully request your continued support and your vote on November the 4th as I seek re-election to the Ohio House of Representatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Mr. Green and Mr. McNeely.